A young man stood at the edge of his dreams, staring at the city lights flickering in the distance. He had given everything for this moment. His sweat, his tears, his heart. But what he didn't know was that the person he trusted most was about to shatter his world into a million pieces. Can love really survive ambition? Can success and heartbreak live under the same roof? What happens when the one you lifted up leaves you behind in the dust? This is not just a story. This is a mirror, a raw, unfiltered look at loyalty, betrayal, and the fire that rises from the ashes of broken promises. His name was Ethan Rivers, born in a small farming town in rural Nebraska, where the only sounds at night were crickets and distant train horns. Ethan grew up watching his father break his back in the fields every single day. His mother worked from sunrise to sunset, managing the household with nothing but grit and grace. They didn't have much, but they had dreams. Dreams that one day their son would escape the cycle of poverty and make something of himself. Ethan was smart, really smart. But intelligence without opportunity is like a seed without soil. His family couldn't afford college. They could barely afford to keep the lights on. Yet Ethan had a fire inside him. A burning desire to rise above the dirt roads and broken fence. He wanted to become someone who mattered, someone who could change lives. One evening, sitting on the porch with his father after a long day in the fields, Ethan finally said it out loud. "Dad, I want to take the civil service exam. I want to become a government officer. I want to help people like us." His father looked at him with tired eyes, but there was pride flickering behind the exhaustion. "Son, dreams are good, but dreams without action are just wishes. If you're serious about this, you're going to have to work harder than you've ever worked in your life, and we don't have much to give you." His mother, overhearing the conversation, walked over and placed a gentle hand on Ethan's shoulder. "If you're willing to fight for it, we'll find a way. We'll go without if we have to, but we won't let you give up on yourself." That night, Ethan made a decision that would change everything. He would leave his small town. He would go to Washington, D.C., and prepare for the toughest exam in the country. He didn't have money. He didn't have connections. All he had was hope and an unshakable belief that hard work could break any barrier. The journey to D.C. was brutal. Ethan arrived with nothing but a worn-out backpack and a few $100s his parents had scraped together. He rented a cramped basement room in a rough neighborhood. The walls were stained. The ceiling leaked when it rained, but it was all he could afford. Every morning, he woke up at 5 a.m. He studied until his eyes burned. He walked miles to the library because he couldn't afford the bus fare. Some days he skipped meals just to save money for textbooks. But he never complained because every hardship was a step closer to his dream. Months passed. The preparation was grueling. The civil service exam wasn't just a test of knowledge. It was a test of mental strength, patience, and sheer willpower. Many gave up halfway, but not Ethan. He pushed through the doubt, the exhaustion, the loneliness. After months of relentless preparation, the day finally came. The preliminary exam. His heart pounded as he walked into the examination hall. This was it. Everything he had sacrificed, every sleepless night, every missed meal, it all came down to this moment. Weeks later, the results were announced. Ethan had passed. He couldn't believe it. A kid from a small Nebraska farm town had cleared one of the toughest exams in the country. His family cried when he called them. His father's voice cracked with pride. His mother whispered prayers of gratitude. But this was only the beginning. The preliminary exam was just the first hurdle. The main exam was even harder, and Ethan knew he had to dig deeper than ever before. It was during this time, in the quiet corners of the public library, that he first noticed her. Her name was Maya Clark. She sat a few tables away, always surrounded by thick textbooks and highlighters. There was something magnetic about her focus, her determination. Ethan caught her glancing at him a few times. At first, he thought nothing of it, but when it kept happening, he finally looked back. Their eyes met, and something sparked. One day, she walked over and introduced herself. "Hey, I'm Ethan, and I've seen you here every day. You're preparing for the civil service exam too, right?" Ethan nodded. "Yeah, I just passed the prelims. Now preparing for the mains." Her face lit up. "Me too." That's amazing. And just like that, a connection was formed. Maya was brilliant, sharp, confident, and fiercely independent. She came from a middle-class family and had always dreamed of becoming a high-ranking government officer. Her parents had given her 2 years to succeed. If she didn't pass by then, they'd insist she settle down and get married. Ethan and Maya started studying together. They shared notes, quizzed each other, and pushed each other to do better. But it wasn't just about the exams anymore. Long study sessions turned into late-night conversations. Coffee breaks turned into shared meals. And slowly, without even realizing it, they fell for each other. Ethan felt something he'd never felt before. Maya wasn't just his study partner. She was his anchor, his motivation, the reason he woke up every morning with hope in his heart. One evening, as they sat on a bench outside the library, Maya turned to him and said, "You know, Ethan, I never believed in soulmates. But meeting you, it feels like the universe brought us together for a reason." Ethan smiled. "I feel the same way." But fate had other plans. When the results for the main exam came out, both of them were devastated. They had failed. Maya was crushed. Her family's pressure intensified. Her parents reminded her that time was running out. Ethan, on the other hand, refused to give up. He held her hand and looked into her eyes. "We're not quitting. We'll try again, and this time, we'll make it." Maya hesitated. But Ethan's determination gave her strength. Together, they decided to give it one more shot. The next year, they worked even harder. They studied together, supported each other through breakdowns, and reminded each other why they started. When the prelims came around again, they both passed. The main exam followed, and this time, the results were different. Maya passed. Ethan didn't. It was a bittersweet moment. Ethan was genuinely happy for Maya. He hugged her, congratulated her, and told her how proud he was, but deep down, a part of him ached. He had failed again, and now Maya was moving ahead while he was still stuck. "You'll make it next time, Ethan. I know you will," Maya said, squeezing his hand. "I know," he replied, forcing a smile. "Now go. Prepare for your interview. You're so close." Maya went on to the final stage, the interview. But when the results came, she didn't make it. She was heartbroken. Her dream of becoming a government officer seemed further away than ever. And with her family's deadline looming, the pressure was unbearable. That's when Ethan did something extraordinary. He went straight to Maya's parents' house. He knocked on their door and stood there, humble but determined. "Mr. and Mrs. Clark, I know Maya hasn't succeeded yet, but she's so close. Please just give her one more year. I promise you she will make it. And if she doesn't, I'll personally tell her to come back home. But don't take this opportunity away from her now." Maya's parents were taken aback. They saw the sincerity in Ethan's eyes. They saw how much he believed in their daughter. After a long silence, her father finally spoke. "One more year, that's all she gets." Maya was overwhelmed with gratitude. She hugged Ethan tightly and whispered, "I don't know what I'd do without you." "You'll never have to find out," he replied. Over the next year, they both threw themselves into preparation with even more intensity. They studied day and night. They mock interviewed each other. They left no stone unturned. And when the exam came around again, they both gave it everything they had. This time, when the results were announced, both of them had passed the main exam. They were ecstatic. They celebrated together, dreaming of the interviews ahead and the future they would build together. But then came the interview stage, and once again, fate split them apart. Maya passed her interview. She had done it. She was going to become a government officer. But Ethan failed. Again. The pain was sharper this time. Not because of his own failure, but because he could see the gap widening between them. Maya was on her way to greatness, and he was still struggling to get his foot in the door. But he didn't let her see his pain. He smiled, hugged her, and said, "You did it, Maya. I'm so proud of you." "You'll get there too, Ethan. I know you will," she said, tears in her eyes. "I will, but right now, this is your moment. Go celebrate. You've earned it." Maya was now headed to the National Training Academy in Colorado for her officer training. It was a prestigious program where the country's top civil servants were trained. Ethan drove her to the airport himself. As they said goodbye, Maya looked into his eyes and said, "I'll always be here for you, Ethan, no matter what." "I know," he said, kissing her forehead. "Now go make us proud." But as the weeks turned into months, something changed. At the training academy, Maya entered a whole new world. She was surrounded by high achievers, brilliant minds, and ambitious people. The environment was intense, competitive, and intoxicating. And that's where she met Brandon Cole. Brandon was everything Ethan wasn't. He came from a wealthy family. He was already a top-ranked officer. He was polished, confident, and charismatic. He had connections, influence, and a future that seemed limitless. At first, Maya just saw him as a colleague, but Brandon was persistent. He helped her with training. He gave her insider tips. He made her feel like she belonged in this elite world. And slowly, without even realizing it, Maya started seeing Ethan differently. Back in DC, Ethan noticed the change. Maya's calls became less frequent. Her texts were shorter. When he tried to reach her, she was always busy or in a meeting. At first, he told himself it was just the training. She was under a lot of pressure. But deep down, he felt something slipping away. One day, after weeks of barely hearing from her, Ethan tried calling Maya. The call didn't go through. He tried again. Same thing. That's when he realized she had blocked his number. His heart sank. He couldn't breathe. The woman he had fought for, supported through every failure, and loved with every fiber of his being had just cut him out of her life without a word. He didn't understand. What had he done wrong? Why would she do this? He needed answers. Without thinking twice, Ethan booked a bus ticket to Colorado. He arrived at the training academy and waited outside the gates, hoping to catch a glimpse of Maya. Hours passed. And then, finally, he saw her. But she wasn't alone. Walking beside her, laughing and talking, was Brandon Cole. Ethan's stomach dropped. He called out to her, "Maya!" She turned, and for a brief moment, her face showed surprise. But then it turned cold. She walked over to him, and Brandon followed. "What are you doing here, Ethan?" she asked, her voice sharp and distant. "What am I doing here? Maya, you blocked me. You disappeared. I just want to know what's going on." She crossed her arms. "Look, Ethan, what we had was nice, but that was before. Things are different. Now." "Different? What are you talking about?" She took a deep breath. "I'm an officer now. I'm building a career, and you're still stuck trying to pass an exam. We're on different paths. I can't be with someone who's going nowhere." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. Going nowhere? Maya, I've been there for you through everything. I convinced your parents to let you try again. I supported you when you failed. I never gave up on you. And I appreciate that, Ethan. I really do. But appreciation doesn't mean I owe you my future. I need someone who's on my level, someone who can match my ambition. And right now, that's not you." Brandon stepped forward, his tone condescending. "Look, man, she's moved on. You should too." Ethan looked at Maya, searching her eyes for any trace of the woman he fell in love with. But she was gone. The Maya he knew had been replaced by someone he didn't recognize. "So that's it? You're just throwing everything away?" "I'm not throwing anything away, Ethan. I'm choosing my future." And with that, she turned and walked away with Brandon, leaving Ethan standing there, broken and alone. He stood on that sidewalk for what felt like hours. People walked past him. Cars honked, life moved on. But Ethan felt frozen in place. That's when an older man approached him. It was George Martinez, the Academy's security guard. "You all right, son?" Ethan looked up, his eyes red. "I don't know." George sat down on the bench next to him. "I saw what happened, heard some of it too." Ethan didn't say anything. "Let me tell you something, kid. The world's full of people who'll use you when they need you and forget you when they don't. That's just how it is. But that doesn't mean you're worthless. It just means they didn't deserve you." "I gave her everything," Ethan whispered. "I believed in her when no one else did." "And that's exactly why you're gonna be fine," George said. "Because someone who can love that deeply, who can fight that hard for someone else, has something most people don't. You've got heart, and heart doesn't quit. It finds a new way." Ethan looked at him, tears streaming down his face. "But what if I can't? What if I keep trying and keep failing?" George smiled. Then you fail forward. You take that pain and you turn it into something the world's never seen before. That night, Ethan sat alone in his small room, staring at the ceiling. George's words echoed in his mind. Fail forward. Turn the pain into something powerful. And then it hit him. What if he stopped chasing someone else's dream? What if he took everything he'd been through, all the struggle, the heartbreak, the betrayal, and turned it into something real, something that could inspire others who felt just as broken as he did? He grabbed a notebook and started writing. Not for an exam, not for a grade, but for himself. He wrote about his journey, about the small-town kid who left everything behind to chase a dream, about the love he thought would last forever, about the betrayal that shattered him. He wrote for 3 months straight, day and night, pouring his soul onto the pages, and when he finally finished, he had completed his first novel. He called it The Selfish World. It wasn't fiction. It was his life, raw, honest, and unfiltered. But getting it published was another battle. Every publishing house he sent it to rejected it. They all said the same thing. Who's going to read the story of some unknown guy? But Ethan didn't give up. He saved every penny he had, borrowed a little from his family, and self-published the book. He promoted it on social media, shared his story online, and connected with people who had been through similar pain. And then something incredible happened. People started reading it, not just a few people, thousands, then tens of thousands. The book went viral. It resonated with anyone who had ever been betrayed, heartbroken, or left behind. Within weeks, it became a bestseller. News outlets picked up his story. TV shows invited him for interviews. He was no longer just Ethan Rivers from Nebraska. He was the author who turned his pain into power, and then the offers came pouring in. Movie studios wanted to turn his book into a film. He was making more money than he'd ever dreamed of. Within months, he went from struggling to pay rent to becoming a millionaire. But the most satisfying moment? When Maya saw his success on the news, she couldn't believe it. The man she had called a failure, the man she had thrown away, was now a best-selling author and a household name. She tried to reach out. She called. She texted. But Ethan had blocked her. One day, she showed up at his book signing event in New York City. There was a long line of fans waiting to meet him, holding copies of his book. Maya stood in that line, her hands trembling. When she finally reached the front, Ethan looked up. Their eyes met. "Ethan, I need to talk to you," she said, her voice cracking. He stared at her for a moment, then calmly replied, "There's nothing left to say, Maya. Please, I made a mistake. I was wrong. I see that now." He put down his pen. "You weren't wrong, Maya. You made a choice. You chose success over love. You chose status over loyalty. And that's fine. But I also made a choice. I chose to move forward, without you. But Ethan, I still care about you. I never stopped." He shook his head. "You cared about what I could do for you. The moment I couldn't elevate you anymore, you left. That's not love, Maya. That's convenience." She stood there, tears streaming down her face. But Ethan had already moved on to the next person in line. Months later, Ethan's book was adapted into a major Hollywood film. His story inspired millions. He started a foundation to help underprivileged students prepare for competitive exams. He bought his parents a beautiful home. He took care of his younger brother's education. And most importantly, he proved to himself that he didn't need anyone's validation to succeed. One day, during a podcast interview, the host asked him, "What do you think is your greatest achievement?" Ethan smiled. "My greatest achievement isn't the book, the money, or the fame. It's that I proved to myself that I didn't need anyone to save me. I saved myself. And that's a power no one can ever take away." The moral of Ethan's story is simple, but powerful. Success doesn't come from leaning on others. It comes from believing in yourself, even when no one else does. When someone betrays you, don't let it break you. Let it build you. Use that pain as fuel. Let it remind you that the only person who will always be there for you is you. And that's more than enough. Life will throw people your way who seem like they're part of your journey, but they're only there for a chapter. And that's okay. Because the real story, the one that matters, is the one you write on your own. Every failure is a setup for a comeback. every closed door is leading you to the right one. You just have to keep moving forward. Moral of the story: true success isn't about proving yourself to the people who left you. It's about proving to yourself that you never needed them in the first place. Your worth isn't determined by who stays or who goes. It's determined by how you rise after the fall. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of your own strength, subscribe for more inspiring stories like this. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Because sometimes the best way to heal is to know you're not alone.